I have two varieties of potatoes this year, Yukon Gold and Russet potatoes. Usually what you want to watch for is that you don't start seeing exposure of any of the potatoes. If you start to notice anything, then you should add some more compost on. Try to keep the potatoes mounded a bit. You'll start off with a potato, and usually what we'll do first is cut them so that we have at least one eye, or you see the sprouts that are on the potato. In this case, I'd probably try to cut this into 3. If it's small, I would just use the whole potato. I would recommend drying them for a couple of days just to make sure they develop a bit of a skin on them so that they're not susceptible to bacteria or any kind of fungus. So once you've got them ready and prepared, you can use your potatoes from the year before. Most of my potatoes here are potatoes from last year, and I prepared them and replanted them in the garden. You want them to end up to be about 6 inches, so you usually start by planting them about 4 inches. I have a 4-foot bed here, and I've planted them about a foot apart, 10 inches across and about 4 inches deep, and then added more compost on. In the past, one of the things that they've always done is rotate the dirt. So get in there deep and till it. And then that allows aeration and that. But what they've found is that by just putting compost on, that actually creates more organisms and healthier soil. By when you rotate it, you disturb all that. The one thing you want to watch with potatoes is not to plant them too close to things like tomatoes or carrots, root crops, anything that requires a lot of nutrients to pull out, because potatoes need a lot of nutrients. You don't want them close to something else. They're plant well, they do well with corn, they do well with lettuce, beans they do well with, so a lot of the above ground crops. The russet is more of an everyday kind of baking, mashing kind of potato, and Yukon Gold potatoes tend to hold their shape more, so they're great for any kind of stews or anything like that where they don't break apart easily. As you can see, they're growing quite well, so I'm quite happy with them. I planted them March 23rd. I haven't had any issues with them. Like I said, the one thing you do want to watch for is that you don't see any exposed potatoes. I probably will add some more compost here just to keep them going, also help so that they grow. When we're talking about planting the potatoes, one thing to remember is the more sprouts that you have or eyes on it, the more potatoes you will get. You want at least 1, and 2 to 3 is more recommended. If you only have 1, you're probably going to get larger potatoes. So less sprouts, bigger potatoes, less quantity. The more sprouts, the more quantity, but maybe smaller potato. So one of the things that I do like to do is rotate my crops. Things like potatoes and that, if they're planted in the same place all the time, can have a chance of picking up some kind of disease or something like that. So I do rotate between my 4 beds. But when you are rotating things, the one thing you do have to watch for is that you get them all out. So one of the things I've come across, because I tend to do a no dig and just pile compost on top and then just keep adding to it. But what I've found is with the potatoes that they're now coming up in the beds that I previously planted. Probably with potatoes or things like that, it's best to make sure that you really do get in there and get those potatoes out.